Well, good morning, everyone. Claire here, and I'm just really excited to talk to you this morning about waiting. We're continuing to sort of follow along with our pastor's sermon series right now on waiting, the waiting room. How do we wait? What do we need to do to wait well? How does waiting affect our relationship with God? But also, what promises do we know that we can rely on when we're in the wait? So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about one of those promises that I think particularly comforts me, gives me a godly perspective whenever we are in times of waiting, and that's in Ecclesiastes 3:11. Ecclesiastes, if you've never read it before, it is a really interesting book. It's in the wisdom literature that they call it, and it's basically a narrator some people believe that it might be Solomon of the Temple, who is kind of going through a lot of lessons, wisdom that he has learned throughout his life. And actually, the overall message of Ecclesiastes can be either depressing or kind of silly or playful in a way, depending on which way you look at it, because the whole point of it, kind of coming down to the end, is that everything in life is hevel, or everything in life is just dust, right? At the end of the day, you can't take it with you. And we are only going to be left, with, our earthly bodies and our soul, wherever that ends up. And so he constantly kind of says that, life is meaningless and you should just, enjoy your time while you're here. But then he gets into this other section in Ecclesiastes 3, where it just gets to be a little bit more serious in the way that he's speaking about all of this waiting, and specifically says that, we have been, as God's children, become aware of the fact that God's perfection, his creation, has been marred by sin. The world that we live in is not the world as he intended it. And there's a grief that comes with that, because we, as his children, understand the perfection that God intended for our world, and the fact that it's not there, we grieve that, we feel that in our day-to-day life. And it specifically says in 3:11 that God has placed eternity in our hearts, and for me, that gives me comfort in knowing that, that the way that the world is right now, and all of the things that we're waiting for, things that we feel should have been fixed long ago that still haven't been fixed, prayers that we're still waiting to get answered. There's a righteous judgment, in so many of us, that we desire to see justice done. We desire to see perfection in our lawmaking, in our government, in our schools, in our workplaces, even in our marriages and our families. And we desire that because we, without us even knowing it, maybe subconsciously, we have this desire for God's world. We have a desire for his perfection. We have a desire for things to go back to the way that they were in the Garden of Eden, in that perfect garden of peace, of, right relationship with God. But we're not there. And we live in a broken world. And in that, we are being refined, right, by God's Spirit, by the challenges that we face, the trials that we go through, hopefully to come out the other side more firmly attached to Jesus, more firmly fixed in our faith. So just wanted to encourage you with that this morning, that, if you today are feeling dissatisfied, if you are maybe feeling angry about something that just is not falling into place, know that hope is coming. Know that God has a plan, and will absolutely see it to fruition, and his perfection will come to pass in time. And in the waiting, I pray that we just keep remembering that and keep having that godly perspective. Well, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and we will see you soon.